What it is, what it do. We're live on another episode of Friday Night Shenanigans. It's just me and Tony in the house tonight. Mr. Paul Batters was on the Pocomo this weekend and took that dub. Let's go, Mr. Paul. Come on.
Great job, man. Paul put in a lot of work down there. He was down there for, I think, 5 or 6 days. So definitely went down there and put the time in and grinded it out and made it happen. That's what we like to see. That's how it's supposed to be. You go down there, put the time in, put the work in, and it works out for you. And that's what this game is all about. If you want to win at any location, at any level, you got to put the time in and make it happen. So big thumbs up to our buddy Paul for getting that done. I was actually thinking about this on the way over, man. It's been there's been some pretty significant tournament wins from us and from some of the guys that we have had on the show or the guys that we talk to a lot. So I'm pretty proud of this year for the crew. I mean,
Totally agree.
Paul win the state championship today, a couple Thursday nighters.
You've done well all season.
I got a win on Conowingo this year. Got a win on the gunpowder this year. Miles and Tom won 2 tournaments on Conowingo this year. So there's been a decent amount of success amongst our group of guys, which is always awesome. We love to see that too. Yep. So we're here. We got some stuff to talk about today. I really want to touch on the motor guide out of business. That's a huge one that I wanted to hit today. Trailer maintenance. That's been a big issue of mine recently. When it rains, it pours. We'll get into that.
That happens to you. It seems like at least once a year since I've known you, something.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's not say that your stuff is completely womped out or anything, but you have old equipment and you use it all the time.
Oh yeah.
So you must keep up on the maintenance with these trailers, and you've had hubs and everything else.
Yep.
Happened to you since I've known you on some of your trips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're gonna get into all of it tonight, and we're also hoping that Riverboat Rob. We talked to him earlier today. He's going to be able to call in and join us and talk a little bit. He's got his grandkids at his house today, so he's not able to make it in studio. But we're hoping to be able to call in and get in touch with him today as well. But I'm going to actually share the post to Reddit. Maybe try to get a new crowd in here as we keep this thing rocking and rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now.
I'm sharing to my page.
So while we share, if you guys could like and share, get some more folks in here, we'll get the conversation going. We got to talk about the Bullet too. I got some updates on the Bullet.
Come on. I don't even know about these updates on the Bullet.
So this is, it's last minute stuff. Well, not last minute. It's just kind of pretty recent, within the last week or so. So I'm really excited to talk about that.
Groundbreaking Bullet news.
So I'm going to share.
It's groundbreaking. It's groundbreaking Bullet news. The Bullet is the groundbreaking.
The Bullet is going to be the fastest bass boat on the Upper Bay. Not number 2. That's Kamala Harris. Okay. Number 2, first loser. Emphasis on the loser part. Okay. But yeah. So let's see what we got here. Bass fishing.
You just blow anything that I do out of the water when it comes to the impersonations.
So I kind of have a weird talent for that. It's kind of weird.
It's good.
I can do a number. I can do a number of impersonations for no reason. And it like I said, it kind of doesn't make sense. I didn't really find out I had them, but I used to do Scooby and Shaggy from Scooby-Doo all the time, at drive-thrus when I was a kid, just to screw with them. It's funny. You go through the, what's up, Mr. Larry Craighead? Thanks for joining us, brother.
What's up, Larry?
But yeah, I would go through, I would go in the damn drive-through and just be zoinks, hey, Scoob. Let's go get some McDonald's. You know what I mean? Just mess with people. But it was fun.
Zoinks, Scoob.
All right, I'm going to type this out. So if you could ramble for 30 seconds, I'm going to type this onto Reddit and hopefully bring some more folks in here. New crowd, maybe some new comments, new experiences.
All right, I'm going to try to prepare this ramble really quickly. The Conowingo did not fish great today. There's reasons for that. The water is super low. They're not running any water. It's almost stagnant. There is a water line. a dirt water line. And it was tough. Covered a lot of water, did a lot of different things. Only managed to pull a couple into the boat. Most of them pretty small. Only one of them probably would have went into the box. So, Conowingo, I think, especially, like, I don't know if is the power outage for Peach Bottom like this weekend? Is it now?
So I'm not aware of any of that, but what I did know is that there is, or I just found out yesterday or today, there is actually the dam above Holtwood, I believe it's Safe Harbor Dam, is basically like
Do
barely
me a favor,
running.
everybody. Please hit that like and share button if you're watching. It really helps the show out tremendously with spreading it out across Facebook and getting more people up in here.
So the dam above Holtwood is operating at like basically barely operating capacity, and that's a bad way to explain it. But
Right.
Lake
Lake
Aldred, which is the lake above Conowingo, is 5 foot lower right now than it's been. I saw some pictures today on some of the Facebook pages for the lake and for like the Lancaster groups or whatever, and they were saying that the lake is the lowest they've ever seen it. Which I'm sure that
It's insanely low, dude.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Like, I don't go up there very often, so when I went up there, like, dude, so the way that I want to describe it is you see rocks that you just don't ever see before, and it was like seeing the rib cage of the lake.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
dude, those rocks, they have like all the grooves and shit going up them, and it's like that stuff that you just don't, it's like seeing the rib cage of the lake that's just always kind of underwater.
Yep.
And it's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely, it's been pretty low the last couple. I've been up there, and like it seems like that place is the water level up there can be kind of random, but it has been low for whatever reason. But again, it seems random. Like you'll go up there one day and it's high, you go up there one day and it's low, and that definitely changes the way the place fishes. I mean, there's places where I've caught lots of fish when the when the water's high. And you go to fish it when the water's low, and that spot has a foot of water or less on it. So those fish just aren't there. So you definitely got to have some spots in your back pocket when you're going up there. Because, I mean, they're smallmouth. They move a lot anyway, but there's certain areas that you could have a tournament winning bag on those spots, and you go up there when the water's low, and there's just not fish on them at all.
It just doesn't seem like there's any water from the north coming down, and it doesn't seem like they're trying to flow any water down south. There's no water to flow right now. Everything is stagnant.
Yeah. Yep. So it's been a challenge, and
It's the whole entire. That's what makes all the fish move.
Yeah.
There. It's man-made tide, and if that man-made tide doesn't move. I don't know. I mean, they have to eat eventually. It's not like they just won't eat, but how to get them to eat is where they are is different.
Well, I think you hit a good point, is that it's man-made, if it's man-made current and tide and whatever, it's man-made bite windows too. And that's, I think, what happens is you can go up there all day. Like last Saturday, I went up there and didn't do much all day. And then they turned the water on in the evening, and it was like every cast you were getting a good one. So the bite windows, they follow the man-made water movements and the raising and lowering of the water. And you got to know when to be in the right place at the right time. And that's what separates the guys up there that are really, really, really good, and the guys that can have good days, and the guys that kind of find them every once in a while. So if like the guys that are really, really good, they know where to be when that water's low. I don't know where to be when that water's low.
So, you know the area when you launch at Peach Bottom and you go north, and it's just like right before you get up into the rocks, it seems like there's always this big congregation or whatever, this big group of freaking boats that always group up right there.
Yeah.
Using forward-facing sonar. Mm-hmm. Well, it was kind of explained to me a little bit today that it's more of like there's a lot of bait out there, there's a lot of fish out there, but there's a lot of this going on out there.
It's very hard to live scope those fish out there. It is.
But why is it so popular for people to go out there?
Because when they're there,
at any given time when they're there, there's 50 boats there,
if
not more.
Because when they're there, you're going to catch them. That's what it is. When you're there, you're going to catch them, and you're going to catch the right ones. The one thing that I say that I think helps a lot up there too is when you are up there scoping, it helps a lot when you have fish reacting.
What's up, Matt? Good to see you, man. It's been a while.
There's definitely spots up there where I'll pull up and I won't see fish, and I'll throw an A-rig or I'll throw whatever, a jerkbait, and you just see them come off the bottom. And in the spot like you're describing where there's a lot of bottom contour, not like big jumps, but like rocks and uneven bottom, you can't see those fish if they're tight to the bottom on the sonar.
Why is everybody out there though? They're using forward-facing sonar and they're excuse me.
Because when they're there, that's the place to be. And it can turn on at any moment.
It reminds me of the flats quite a lot.
It's similar to the flats, but it's not similar to the flats.
Completely different than fishing the flats.
I think I could sit on the flats knowing I'm around fish and work to get bites, whereas up there, if the conditions aren't right, you can sit there all day. I've done it. You can sit there all day and just barely catch. You can have a limit for 6 pounds. Like, it's just, and then
somebody's coming back with 12 pounds though.
Not all the time. Not all the time there.
I don't know.
It's an interesting, it's a phenomenon if you want to really get into it.
It seems like Herb and some of them other guys have a way.
You'd be surprised, man. A lot of those guys that are up there that are really, really good consistently, they don't have one or two spots that are just honey holes for them. They're bouncing around. And I think that goes down to my comment earlier, in that the guys that are really, really good up there, they know where to go based on the conditions. And, not to say that those guys don't have tough days. There was a lot of really good anglers on Conowingo that have won a lot of tournaments on Conowingo that came in with 8-10 pounds in the championship. Me and Miles thought we had a really good game plan. We thought we had a really good game plan, and it did not work out because one of the spots that we wanted to fish, water level was completely different, and they weren't there. And we were counting on that. We were really counting on that, and it just didn't happen. So then, right off the bat, you got that monkey on your back of like, dude, these fish aren't here. Now we have to grind, because I'll tell you right now, our game plan was we were going to go up there, hopefully get a limit of 13 to 16 pounds on that spot, which was extremely possible based on the fish we were catching in practice, and then go spend the rest of the day looking to upgrade, looking for 1 or 2 or 3 key bites to upgrade. And we left that spot with like 1 13.5-inch fish in the live well. And I was just like, dude, this is going to be tough. This is going to be real tough. And it was tough for everybody. I mean, 14 pounds won the championship, and that's the best. Those are the best anglers that fish that place. So there was only, I think, 2 or 3 bags over 10. It was tough, dude. It was a really tough tournament. And it was because the water, in my opinion, the water had dropped so low. And, that's the thing. Me and Miles, we talked to a lot of the guys that fish up there a lot, and a lot of guys that were practicing were catching good fish during the week like we were, and they were coming in with nothing.
It's crazy
like we did.
Of the bags that come out of there in the fall time, though.
Oh, it's capable. I mean, it's definitely got fish in it. Like, there's no question. I mean, the quality of fish is up there. The problem is, I thought it was that door. The problem with
I'm not closing the door now.
The problem with that place is it's the inconsistency, and it's the amount that those fish move is what makes it really, really hard. Because some of the, like when me and Travis had that ridiculous day up there in July, those fish were not on anything. They were just in a spot. They weren't on a piece of structure. They weren't on a contour. They weren't on a rock pile. They were just there. We just landed on them. And it was 2 mega schools, and we just sat there and caught the shit out of them. But, someday, and if you find that, you're going to have a great day. The problem is, everything about that place is bait. Like, you can, especially, the further south you go, the bigger of a deal that is.
Man-made current.
Yeah, the further south you go, the bigger of a deal that is. I mean, I've had days where you'll go out, and in the middle of the lake, smack in the middle of the lake, you'll see seagulls going crazy. And you'll pull up on it. You'll see your sonar. You'll throw a jerk bait or whatever you have on the deck that's a minnow bait, and you're going to catch a big smallmouth.
Something interesting that I really noticed today while we were fishing is up in some of the shallow areas, actually, when another boat went past us and it created that wake up in that shallow, we saw nothing. The boat went past, that wake went past, it must have moved bait fish, and then all of a sudden you started seeing some topwater busts.
Yep.
It's pretty wild how that can make a difference in what it does. Like that little bit of water movement made bait fish move, and then made fish go and attack those fish.
Yep.
And what a small window that was. So pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Something to note.
It's a challenging place. The place will humble you for sure. I mean, I've had some of the best days I've had in fishing this year have been up there. Some of the toughest days I've had in fishing this year have been up there, and they've been within 3 days of each other. Like the Friday before the championship, I went up there and I caught probably 60 fish, probably had 15 pounds. No giants, but all solid fish. That was not the thing in the championship. Those fish weren't even on a lot of the spots. They just move. So it's very hard to stay on them. You're rolling the dice in that hopefully I have enough spots to where if I run my spots, there's going to be fish on 1, 2, or 3 of the spots, and they're the right ones. They're not always the right ones. Some spots are better, more consistent with bigger fish, but some aren't, and it's a challenge. So that's my I say it a lot all the time. That's my spiel in Conowingo. That's why I like it so much, because it is constantly challenging, right? Like there's a lot of bodies of water where you can go and sit in the same area. Joppatown's a good example. You can go fish the pond in the spring and catch big fish all the time. You can go back there in the fall and catch big fish all the time. It's not like that on Conowingo. You can go to a spot up in the rocks and catch giants. I mean giants. And then you can go back the next day and not catch anything.
Yep.
Because they're not there. It's not because they're not biting. It's because they're not there. And that's the difference. Whereas in the pond, based on the time of year, the fish are always there. They might be a little harder to catch, but they're always there. In Conowingo, they're not always there. They were there yesterday. They're not there today. So that's what makes it tough.
That's how it was. I mean, I've heard different stories throughout the week of catching multiple fish, nice big fish, and then going up there on a day like today where they just weren't flowing any water until later on in the day, and just nothing happening whatsoever. And seeing structure and things that I've never seen before up there.
Right.
Now, granted, I don't spend a lot of time up there, but it's interesting to see what it looks like when it is 4 feet lower than normal.
Yeah, it's neat. It's pretty neat. But anyway, so we'll get more into it as we go on, but I want to talk about the motor guide thing too. And no matter what you think about it, and I know motor guide hasn't been super relevant in the last, really since the Ultrex came out, probably a little before that, but since we had GPS trolling motors, motor guide has definitely fallen off in terms of putting a competitive quality product out on the market for a multitude of reasons. I thought they definitely was a niche to be filled that could have filled. And what I mean by that is make a cable driven trolling motor that has spot lock, is reliable, and is cheaper. Because the majority of people that are fishing, weekend warriors like us that are going out and fishing some tournaments or whatever, aren't using the Lowrance Ghost, Garmin Force, Power Pole Move, or Minn Kota Ultrex for everything that it can do, right? There's some stuff that the Ultrex can do that is mind-blowing when you really put it together, when you really realize what you got at your fingertips.
What's up, Jim?
But we're never going to use that stuff, right? Like the feature where you can put a mark on a waypoint on your graph, and the Ultrex will take you around in a circle. Like, we're not using that.
I don't know too many people. Actually, I don't know anybody that does.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
I don't even think the pros are using that shit. They don't fish one body of water enough to, you know what I mean?
And that's kind of my point, is that I don't know price wise what that option fits into Minn Kota Ultrex's overall price, but I'm sure it's like a $300 to $500 option. You know what I mean? There's other options on there too, but my point is, I think there is still a market for a trolling motor that's cable driven, has spot lock, and that is it. And it's cheaper and it's reliable and it can stand up to a little bit of beating. I think that's what the market is lacking right now. A good example for the Power Pole Move, right? The Power Pole Move has reverse.
something that's like something that's like in the middle of the Alltrex and but the other thing is too is you have the Tarova, but even the Tarova is like it's non-cable driven, it's electrical. What's wrong with this thing?
I think the ultimate trolling motor right now, if Minn Kota took a Fortrex and
it's the
left
Quest, dude. It's the Quest all day long.
it is, but let's pretend we live in fantasy for a second, and let's say Minn Kota came out tomorrow and said, "Hey, we took the Fortrex, we put spot lock on it. It's $2,000. It'll hook up to your fish finders in that it helps you with the GPS location or whatever. But like, it's a cable driven trolling motor. It has spot lock. Mm-hmm. Dude, you know how many people buy that? Because you can't break a Fortrex. You can try.
I can agree, but you take some of the component. What makes a Fortrex so beast mode?
The reliability,
just like reliable, can't break it, is because it doesn't have the components that are in the Alltrex. Right.
I think
what you would need in order to do spot lock with the automation.
Yes, but
it's the extra electrical components that have the failing points, where a Fortrex is just straight up mechanical.
It's like my Maxim. It's basically the predecessor of the Fortrex. That thing will last forever.
Yeah, it doesn't have electronic boards and all that crap. Right. It just has power.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we're missing right now in the market. It's a similar conversation.
What's up, John?
When we get into bass boats too, it's like, you
guys up on Lake Erie? So how's that going?
So like Ranger with the touchpad, the new Rangers with the touchpad with all your graphs and all that crap, right? Like that's great. I can't fix that when it fails.
Oh, we got Big John, Little John, and Scuba Steve in the house. What's up, boys?
Welcome, guys.
They are up at Lake Erie fishing right now.
Cold up there, I bet.
Yep, John is spoiling Scuba Steve, taking him on all these big smallmouth trips.
It's awesome.
He's going to come down here back to Conowingo and be like, "What is this?"
Right.
They're probably up there hammering like 6-pound smallies and stuff.
Right.
That's what I hope they're doing, anyways.
So, but yeah, that's I really think that if Minn Kota were to come out with the Fortrex and just say, "Look, we put spot lock on it. We didn't put anything else on it. It's a cable driven Fortrex that everyone loves. It's got spot lock." I know guys that have Alltrexes that keep their Fortrex in the truck when they go on a trip just in case, because if the Alltrex goes down, if you bolt the Fortrex up, you brush the cobwebs off of it, it's going to run. It's going to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing is I feel like Motor Guide had that opportunity and they failed. Miserably they failed. And it's kind of fitting because, with the Bullet being closer and closer to being done, one of the big things I'm looking at is trolling motors because it has a Fortrex on it, which is great, but I want spot lock. And I've been looking at all kinds of trolling motors, and I looked at the Alltrex, I looked at the Force. I like the Force, but I have one Garmin. It's only for live scopes, so that's not really an option. Same thing with the Lowrance Ghost. Not a huge fan of the Ghost for some reasons. The Power Pole Move is fantastic, but the problem with the Power Pole Move is it's so much more expensive.
I've heard there's issues with the Move.
There are issues with the Move.
A bunch of issues.
There's definitely issues with the Move, and it's $1,000 more than anything else you can get. So, to me, I don't need it. Plus, I don't even have power poles. I have Raptors.
Sandusky, Ohio.
Yep. So that's my and to round it off, like I looked hard at the Tour Pro. And when you compare the price, it was appealing.
That's the one that has that massive
the big head.
It's got the huge head. Looks like a freaking rocket ship or something on it.
Yeah. So the Tour Pro was one that I was looking at a lot, and I looked on the forums for it. And I'm telling you, dude, the forums really swayed me away because a lot of guys were talking, like for every one guy that loved his Tour Pro, there was 5 that said, yeah, it sucks. Mm-hmm. I can't get it fixed. When it does break, it breaks all the time. And it reminds
me of the comments when we made the post about Motor Guide going out. We had a lot of people saying they can't believe it didn't happen sooner.
Yeah.
But then we also had 1 or 2 people say they've had no problems with theirs.
Right. And I think the older motor guides were good before we were in the age of Altrexes and Ghosts and Forces.
I still tend to believe, and it also looks to me like the components were just made cheaper.
Yeah, but when I say older, I'm talking like through the 90s, through like the mid 2000s, when we were getting into 36-volt trolling motors, like they were still relevant. Like there was, I mean, the Fortrex was there, the Motor Guide Tour was there. The Tour is when it started to drop off a little bit, but back in those days, the Motor Guide was perfectly fine for what guys were using them for. It's just not the case now, and they're under. And you know, that company was around for 80 years. You know, they are by all means a titan in the marine industry, particularly the bass fishing industry, and they are no more. I don't think that's good for the industry.
They're part of Lowrance. They're part of.
So they're not part of Lowrance.
I thought that Lowrance. So when I read that in the post, I really kind of figured that Lowrance probably owned Motor Guide or something
Close.
of that nature.
So the parent company, I can't remember their name, but the parent company that owns Lowrance owned Motor Guide. And so this situation is very similar to, it's very similar to the Evinrude situation, right? The parent company decided this is not profitable for us. We're getting left behind by the competition. The only reason why anyone even buys it is for the name. So why even, without doing a complete rehaul or redesign and relaunching of the product, which is going to cost millions of dollars in development, production, and advertisement, there's no reason to have it.
Boop, boop, boop.
Oh yeah, wait.
Figure it, find it.
There
it is. Boop, boop.
It's like other things you have to find it. It's kind of
Poke the
hard
like
to find.
and the share. Hey, Riverboat Rob, what's up, buddy?
So Scott's chiming in on some comments here. John is talking about Simrad, so that's an interesting. So I didn't know that Simrad actually. Yep, Navico. That's what it is. Navico is the parent company of Motor Guide, and they also are the parent company of Lowrance. But Brunswick is like the major parent company.
Okay. Yeah.
Similar to how BRP owned Evinrude. When I found out that this whole thing happened, I actually said in the group chat, to me, this is not as big of a deal, but it's a similar deal to when Evinrude closed doors. It's been around forever and it's now gone. I don't know. I don't think it's good for the marine industry when these companies that have been around since the 1950s are gone. You know, Evinrude was the first trolling motor. I don't know that Motor Guy was the first. I think Minn Kota was a couple years before, but Evinrude was the first outboard motor ever. Gone. Motor Guide
Evinrude was the first outboard motor ever.
The first outboard motor ever made was an Evinrude, and it is out of business now.
I do not know why, but I kind of thought it was Johnson.
Well, Johnson, I actually don't. I'm not super smart on the history of when Johnson came around, but Johnson and OMC. Think of Johnson and Evinrude similar
Who names
to
a boat motor Johnson?
someone who wants to choke their Johnson. And it's like, hey, check out my Johnson. You know what I mean? It's right here. Pull your pants up. I was talking about the outboard. Johnson and Evinrude was similar to Mercury Mariner back in like the 90s. A lot of the parts were interchangeable. Like the Johnson made it was the Evinrude Pro XP, and then the Johnson was the GT, talking back late 80s, early 90s. Those motors were basically the same. The Super Mag Mariner and the Mercury Pro Max were very, very similar. Scott, if I'm wrong, chime in. I know you work on these things a lot too.
Riverboat Rob says they were the same company.
Mm-hmm. So the OMC owned both Johnson and Evinrude. And it was interesting how, like, towards the end of OMC, we can get into that, but there was a whole, we're just going to get into it, I guess. So Evinrude was pioneering the technology that ultimately caused it to go out of business the first time. And it was the FICT. It was the direct fuel injection. Now Jesse has a comment. Jesse said,
What's up,
Minn Kota is
Jesse?
owned by Johnson. So Johnson Outdoors is a different company. They own Minn Kota. Johnson Outdoors is not Johnson outboards. Like your Johnson
Yes,
outboard and
yes.
Johnson outdoors are two different things. So I like that comment because people probably thought the same thing, but it's different. So back in the 90s, Evan Rude was making their DFI outboards, the Ficht. Everyone hates them. They suck. I had one. It was terrible. When it ran, it was fast. I'll tell you that. When it ran, it was fast. I mean, that Ranger with a light load.
When it ran, it was fast.
With that Ficht, on my Ranger, before I put the poles and all that shit on it with no jack plate, I would run 67, 68 miles an hour. It was a fast motor. It was faster than the E-Tech, for sure. But they blew up, and the resale on them was garbage. So when the Ficht was killing OMC, Johnson actually made a carbureted two-stroke outboard. It's the gray Johnsons that you still see. You saw a lot of them on Stratuses. People still have them. They lasted forever. They were good motors, and they made that because for two reasons. One, the Ficht was so bad nobody wanted to buy anything OMC. Two, the guys that had Fichts that were blowing them up under warranty, Evan Rude was giving them the Johnson motor because they needed a reliable motor. I mean, there were guys there. I read so much and talked to a lot of guys in the marine industry, guys at Intercoastal Marine up at Reading Boat Works that were in the industry during that time. They said there were guys that were leaving the lot from a new power, from a repower, and back the same day because it blew up. The same day. Blow it up, get a new motor under warranty, take it to the lake, blow it up, and be back in the lot the same day. Pissed off. Piss off at the owner. Why are you selling me this junk, this piece of shit? Throw it in the fucking trash. Give me something that runs. So Johnson was giving them the gray carbureted Johnsons that lasted a lot longer, but it wasn't enough because so much money had been sunk into the Ficht. And it ultimately, OMC went out of business because of that. Now let's not sit here and pretend that the Optimax is of the same.
I need one of those on my Ranger. It would just be the perfect boat.
Let's not sit here and pretend that the Optimaxes that were around in the same time were not also pieces of shit, because they were. The early, like the very first Optimaxes were good because they had no power. They had to up the power to compete with the Yamahas, which were still running. They were in the early HDPIs or HPDIs and the OX 66s like Paul's on his Champion that were still running around.
That was still a show.
No. Paul's was a LX 66 carbureted two-stroke. The show didn't come out to the four-stroke. The show came out in 11 with a four-stroke. You're thinking of the VMAX.
Yes.
The VMAX started with the OX 66 Yamahas, and then it carried through the HPDIs, which were pretty good motors. Had some issues. They were overall pretty decent motors. I'm like a nerd for this stuff. But anyway, so that
you just have you have a lot of knowledge on all this.
and that's what screwed OMC. When OMC went under, that was it. BRP bought them out. They rebranded the Ficht as the E-Tech. So if you're out there running an E-Tech like I am, you're running a Ficht with an E-Tech on it with minor improvements that actually the improvements that were made helped the motor a lot. The E-Tech, before we get to G2, were actually pretty good. They had computer issues, like EMMs were getting hot and they weren't cooling enough and stuff like that. But the E-Tech, for all intents and purposes, was a competitive motor to the Optimax. Guys ran them a lot back in the day.
Scott says that Fitch died from EMM and cylinder head recalls.
Yep.
Yamaha have been and they've always been great motors. I have the Yamaha 92 stroke, and it is sweet.
Yep.
Vindicator and Fast Strikes were solid motors.
Yep. So the Fast Strikes and the Vindicators, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, they were still carbureted. So the Evan Rude Vindicator and the Johnson Fast Strike were essentially the same motor. The 150s lasted forever. Mm-hmm. You still see them around. They're workhorses. You could beat the shit out of them. But I think a lot of things that people don't realize is that the reason why a lot of these two-strokes, modern era, when I say modern, I mean DFI and above, were having the issues that they have is because of the fueling. Everyone was trying to make a motor that was super efficient and burn less fuel and blah, blah, blah. And people don't realize that, part of your cooling for a two-stroke is the fuel. if you're sipping fuel, it's going to burn hotter. It's like when you run a weed eater out of motor, what's it do? It runs real hot for like a second.
It's running lean.
Right. That's what's happening with these DFI two-strokes, particularly the FIC. That's what was killing them.
Trying to be more economical, though.
Correct. And a lot of that was EPA.
What's up, Dan?
So that's why like guys that are running like motors like the XB, the Mercury XB, the Mercury EFIs from the early to later mid 2000s, they still run. Because now the XB is probably the worst of them, but the EFIs, all of them will drink fuel. They will absolutely drink fuel. But when you're getting fueled adequately, there's not, you don't have those complications because the motor's getting enough fuel. It's being cooled properly. It's getting plenty of oil. That's the big thing for the DFI motors is you got to remember DFI and EFI. So EFI injects pre-mixed fuel. The fuel is mixed and that it's one injector and it injects it straight into the cylinder.
You have an oil injection pump.
No, you have a fuel injection. And the fuel injector in an EFI is injecting gas and oil, gas and two-stroke oil. In a DFI, you're injecting, one injector is doing oil and one injector is doing fuel. And the oil injection is the smallest amount possible to run the motor and not blow it up. Mm-hmm. And what happens is you have carbon buildup, which is why the fixed through rods, because they were sipping oil. And the carbon builds up because there's nothing to lubricate the cylinders properly. Your ring catches and you throw a rod through the side of the block like I did. So that was a lot of the problems with those DFI two-strokes. It's gotten better as the technology has gotten better and the oil quality has gotten a little bit better. I mean, XD100 is expensive for a reason because it's made to run. It's made to get the most out of your oil.
That motor that you got for the Bullet.
Mm-hmm. EFI. It burns all the fuel, all of it. I should buy stock in Exxon, like right now, because I'm probably, that's how much fuel it burns. It burns a ton, but it's an EFI, so it's always going to be fueled properly unless there's a mechanical malfunction. The design of it is to be fueled and to burn a lot of fuel because it's going to run fast and run hard and withstand the abuse. That's the point.
At least around here, you really don't have to fucking go all that far.
No, and especially on a Bullet, the hull's more efficient.
Yeah, at about 95 miles an hour, you'll get wherever you want in about a couple minutes.
Right. So yeah, that's the difference. The big difference is I won't.
By the way, I'm not getting in it with you.
Sure, you will. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference in. I think a lot of guys that say the XBs and the EFIs just drank a ton of fuel. If you're running it on a Ranger, a big 21-foot Ranger, it's gonna burn a lot more fuel getting where you're going versus a Bullet because that hull is more efficient to get you there. So it's gonna work in my favor a little bit too.
Dude, just being in Big John's Bass Cat when he'd just like smack that hot pedal to the floor, and I don't even know if it was through the floor, honestly. But it just started levitating and chime walking, and I was like, it made my butt pucker so hard. I was like, what is happening right now? Are we riding on a 21-foot magic carpet all of a sudden? Because that's what it felt like.
Oh, you're going to love the Bullet. You're going to love it.
I'm not so sure about that.
So I guess
I'm scared already. It's not even back yet.
I guess we'll get into that a little bit. So the boat is back together.
Where is JCS Marine? Come on.
So the top cap of the Bullet is on. At this point, we are rigging. So the light at the end of the tunnel is rapidly approaching.
We decided on a wrap design.
Yeah, we did. And for those that missed that, we talked about that maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
Super this is like so cool.
So we got a black wrap because I was gonna go like a blue, like the colors for the show, like what you guys see back there. I was going to use like a blue camouflage wrap, but I didn't want to overpower the sponsor logos that we're putting on there, which we love our sponsors, so I don't want to overpower those guys.
So, by the way, before you keep on going, who are our sponsors? Let's get into that really quick. We got Mobile Auto Services and
Solutions.
Boat Pros.
Mobile Auto
Services.
Oh, sorry. You have it spelled wrong on the thing.
I have it spelled wrong there, but it's not spelled.
Sorry.
It's spelled right there.
Services. That's my bad.
It's Mobile Auto Services and the Boat Pros. They come to you. They've come to me. They've done my boats.
Yep.
They do really, really good work. And then We also have East Coast IV, which I'm probably going to need after this weekend.
After Halloween, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, both are super awesome companies. I really like the mobile auto, just the business model of it, because let's be honest, dude. Like, how many times have you ever broken down in a convenient place? You don't.
You don't.
So having an opportunity to get you back on the road and get you where you need to go, even if that's just to get home so you can make a permanent repair, is huge.
Is it ever convenient to be hungover? No.
No.
You can just go to East Coast IV and get yourself an IV and take that hangover right away.
Yep.
It's located right in Bell Camp.
So now we got Bass Munitions, and I'm glad we're hitting this now, because
Come on.
I wanted to. They just released a new product this week, which is really cool too. Bass Munitions just came out with, for all you forward-facing sonar junkies out there. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a little shad bait, and it's kind of a dual application. So it's good for your forward-facing Demiki rigs, strolling rigs, stuff like that. It's also really good for a chatterbait trailer if you want to get the bigger one and throw it on either a regular size jackhammer Thunder Cricket or a smaller, like a chatterbait mini. I think it's the Mini Max is the not super small one.
Mini Max.
Okay, yeah, the Mini Max is a good one to put that on too. So some cool options. You always get more bang for your buck with Bass Munitions. So check them out.
Tailored lures. One of the best snakehead frogs. I'm going to snakehead frog. I do categorize them as a snakehead frog simply because of the hooks that are in these things. They're like ocean saltwater hooks. I think you could catch a tuna fish on the thing. And
it actually holds up to multiple snakeheads. Which,
yes.
The nicest bass frog you can get. Catch a couple snakeheads on them and tell me if they still work.
It's literally like, so as everybody, I like throwing the Carrera. That's like a 1 or 2 snakehead frog. That's it. It's done after that.
Yep.
Forget about it.
Your Taylor Lures frogs are going to last a lot longer, for sure. So if you're a snakehead guy, get you some of them. They'll last a lot longer for you, and I think you guys will really like them.
Forget about it.
So back to the bullet. So the bullet's back together. We're talking about rigging. I was going to actually use the same sonar setup that I have now, but I decided I'm going to go all out. So
okay, are you still doing the 3-unit idea at the bow?
Oh yeah,
you are going to do 3 at the bow.
3 at the bow. Yep.
10s.
3 10s at the bow, 2 9s at the helm. And this is all stuff I have.
2 9s at the 2 at the helm,
3 at the bow.
3 at the bow.
Yep.
21-foot boat,
22 foot.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, 21-10, so 22. Yeah. It's going to be ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. But so here's my thing, right?
It's going to be like pulling a battleship to the boat ramp.
So, and I was thinking about this the other day, but it's like
with 10-foot poles.
With 10-foot poles, yeah.
You are putting the red poles on, right?
And the Ultrex.
Yeah.
Yep. It's gonna have. I mean,
wait. You're putting the. I thought you were putting a Quest on it.
Yeah, Ultrex Quest.
You're putting the Ultrex Quest. Mm-hmm. You're keeping the
Minn Kota.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, you have the 4-Trex on the old boat.
Right. So, well, I have a 4-Trex on the Bullet now, a 112 4-Trex, but I'm gonna put the.
Did you have a Maxus on the old one?
Maxim on the Ranger. Yep. So I'm gonna put the 112
What's
Ultrex
up, Tom?
Quest on.
Tom, you're supposed to be here. Where you be at?
He's on his way, right?
Come on.
So we got that going on. But yeah, I was like, because here's my thing was I originally bought 2 9s, Helix 9s from Kevin Parsons. He got them. They were on his skier when he bought it. He wasn't interested in using them. So I bought them from him and I was like, yeah, it'll be cool to have. And then, I was actually going to put them on the Bullet just because I wasn't anticipating tearing the Bullet apart like I did. So, I was like, well, I have them now. It's about to be a dog fight in here. Yep. Michael Vick. So I was like, well, I have the units. They're no good to me just sitting here. I could put them on the Ranger and maybe get an extra $1,000 for the Ranger, or I could keep them and use them and have all the graphs that I'm ever going to want on the boat. So I might as well just do that. So I'm willing to take a little bit less for the Ranger, keeping all my graphs on the Bullet and just being done with it. I'll never have to mess with it again. So
Tom caught a nice 4-pounder.
I heard that. It's pretty awesome.
Did you catch more?
So that's where we're at with the Bullet right now. But back to the motor guide thing is,
He said whacked them.
Again, with the Motor Guide, I don't think Motor Guide going out of business is a good thing. I think it's bad for the industry. Anytime a company that's been around forever goes under, it's a big thing, right? Like a company like Motor Guide, a company like Evinrude should be pretty established and be able to go through a lot of financial hardship, and those companies aren't doing that. So that raises my eyebrows. We're like, what's next? I mean, what company could go under next? You know what I mean? That's what I think. At the end of the day, are we just going to be left with nitro fiberglass boats and tracker aluminum boats? I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go. I mean, I think at this point, we're all aware that the bubble that COVID created with the boating industry is definitely in the decrease, potentially popping right now. So it's definitely something to think about. I feel bad for anyone that bought a new boat from 2020 to 2023 because the value of your boat's decreasing by the day. It's not. I'm not being an asshole. That's just the fact. So, that's where we're at right now. Jim said no trackers. Said no to the tracker. I forget what you run, Jim. I can't
feel
remember.
like it's the same damn boat. It's not, but it is. It's White River. Mm-hmm. It's a nightmare. But I don't, you know what? Up here, I really don't hear near the nightmares with the trackers that I do with the Rangers.
No.
I just don't.
No. And like here, let's be honest, like for the price of the Nitro.
There's trackers everywhere. I don't hear anybody bitch about them.
The biggest nightmare you hear about with Nitro is the trailers. Like you don't hear a ton of issues from the boat. I mean, it's shoddy. I don't want to say shoddy. It's lesser quality building materials for sure. But it's a boat. It's a Nitro. You know that when you buy it. And Andy, our friend Andy Hauser from Team Marine, he put out a video. He put out a video a couple days ago, and he was talking about he said, and I'm probably misquoting him a little bit here, but he basically said, I want to go on a tour of Nitro and Ranger, and I want to see the difference in the switches, the fiberglass. I want to see the differences in what makes the Ranger so much more expensive than what goes in the Nitro. I think that's a fair question. I would love to know that difference.
Oh goodness. Scott says Sea-Doo Alumacraft is for sale. BRP is trying to stop the bleeding of poor sales, and the BRP under outboard, can I have one, is a joke that never will take off.
I did not know that Alumacraft is for sale. That is actually extremely interesting. So for everyone that's not aware, and I guess we're talking about bass boats and trolling motors and all kinds of nonsense today. Sorry, we're not talking about like fishing specific stuff. It's kind of fishing specific. So for those of you guys that aren't aware, Alumacraft is owned by BRP, and Alumacraft they were a package deal with Evinrude. So you bought an Alumacraft that came with an Evinrude up until Evinrude went under. Now, fast forward to probably 2021, 22, when the god awful Rotax thing, I don't even call it an outboard, came out. The 16 head bolt thing or whatever it was, Alumacraft was only selling their boats with that. And you cannot rig an outboard. If your piece of garbage Rotax, if you decide you don't want it anymore, you cannot put an outboard on a Alumacraft that's rigged for that. So if you wanted an Alumacraft, you had to get some garbage thing that was pre-rigged for, in my opinion, an inferior design and a piece of shit. I've never seen one in the wild. I would love to see one just to see how terrible it is. The design is awful. It's terrible if you look at it. But it was Alumacraft was one. I think there was a couple pontoon boats. I think Manitou might have been one. But
hey, what's up, Andy?
There was a couple pontoons brands that were only being sold with the Rotax outboard, and they all sucked. A shop that I really like a lot, Reading Boat Works up in Pennsylvania, they actually dropped Alumacraft and BRP because they were, so when that thing came out.
Why do we tag Andy again? Remind me.
Because Andy's awesome. And we were talking about
yeah, that was definitely the number one reason. But there was a second one.
Because Andy had a really good point earlier in the week, and he said, "I want to go on a boat tour. I want to go on a factory tour and see what makes the Ranger so much better than the Nitro.
Yes.
I want to see the switches, fiberglass, wiring. What makes that boat so much better than the Nitro?"
That was a really long pee, and it made me
Forget. But anyway,
yeah, exactly.
so long story short is the guys up at. And he said, "It's the underboard. I'll take credit. Go watch the video." Yeah, you guys definitely need to watch the video because the video is awesome. The underboard video that Andy put out, I laughed my ass off like multiple times. It's hilarious.
We're just going to find it and post the link.
We'll post the link on here for you guys to watch because it's fantastic. But so long story short is when the Alumacraft sponsors or reps or whatever came out to a lot of the dealers, one of which was Reading Boat Works. They said either you're going to sell this boat or we're taking you off our list of whatever. And they said, "Okay, thanks, see you, we're done." That's the one, the top one.
This one.
Yep, we're going to post it in the comments for you guys. You guys got to watch this video; it's fantastic. But yeah, so when that's what's been happening is all these companies that are selling boats, they're like looking at this thing, they're like, "We're not selling it. Like, take us off the list. We don't care. We're not selling this garbage." So yeah, I think that's a lot of the reason why. Like Scott was saying, that's why the Alumacraft sales are down. I didn't know they were for sale. I don't know. Maybe Andy, I don't know if you knew that too, but apparently Alumacraft is for sale. The brand itself is for sale. So to me, that means the Alumacraft Rotax underboard whatever is no more, I guess. Maybe is they still producing that thing? Because it already killed Alumacraft, which isn't really a surprise. But yeah, so that's where we're at with like the state of boats. You got companies going out of business left and right. Andy, we've been talking about Motor Guide a little bit too. What's your thoughts on the Motor Guide out of business? Curious to hear your thoughts on that too.
I have a feeling I know what he's going to say.
Probably. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they were a competitive product, but I don't think a company that's been in business for 80 years going out of business is a good thing. Andy has juice on this subject. Now I'm excited. Now I'm extremely excited.
Okay.
We heard Andy was going to buy the Gambler molds and put the Rotax on that. But did I tell secrets? Don't let me say that. No, I'm kidding.
Buy the Gambler molds.
Yeah.
Buy the Gambler molds. He's got the Champion molds.
Right.
He's ready to go.
Oh man. But yeah, that's the that's the state that we're in right now with the bass fishing industry is just stuff's going under. Scott says BRP's shifting focus to snowmobiling, and to what I understand, their snowmobiles are actually pretty good. So it probably makes the most sense for them to do that.
BRP.
They're the parent company of Evinrude, Rotax. They own Can-Am and stuff like that.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
On the snowmobiling.
Mm-hmm. So,
that makes more sense to me. I'm thinking of snowmobiling. I'm like, what brand would BRP be for like snowmobiling?
I think they own Sea-Doo as well. I think. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure if they own Sea-Doo. But yeah. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
I'm looking forward to Andy's video next week now.
I think I'm going to sit here and say it. I think Motor Guy going out of business is as big of a milestone.
I like all of them.
Is maybe not as big of a milestone, but is a extremely significant milestone. Is Evinrude going out of business? That's my opinion. It's just not good for the industry. Personally, that's what I think. So if you're out there,
so what does this mean?
So that means that some poor bastard out there has a COVID Ranger with a G2 on it and a Motor Guide Tour Pro, and his boat's basically worth as much as his beer is now. And he probably paid $100,000 for it, and you can't get parts for the motor, and the Motor Guide is trash. And the first thing anyone that buys is going to do is get rid of that. They're going to get.
I kind of feel just like that guy.
You're not that bad off. You're not. You still have a Mercury and Ultrax.
I still got the Ultrax and the Mercury, but I got the beer can part.
Yeah, you got the aluminum part,
and it's even blue.
You know what?
Nice.
That's another good thing that we could talk about too. Is from what I've watched, and a lot of it's been the Team Marine stuff too.
The hull hasn't broken in half yet, though, so that's cool.
But Andy has actually put out some good stuff too about the 208. The Ranger 208's falling apart left and right.
Really?
Yep.
Well, what did you think was going to happen when you put a 250 on an aluminum boat?
I don't know, because other companies do it and they don't have those problems. I mean, Gator Tracks does it, Express does it, Lund does it. Lund does it.
I don't know about the product or how any of those hulls or anything are made, but what I can say is a Ranger hull is made with not a mold, but it's made with whatever. They put the pieces of metal together in a thing. I'm too drunk to remember what it's called right now, and they freaking weld up it with a machine, and it's very inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's not. Gator Tracks probably has some guy lay underneath the boat and TIG weld it with his hands.
It's probably Matt from Reservoir Boat Works.
That's how you build a nice boat these days. This machining crap is exactly what I just said. It's crap.
You know, it's funny too when we talk about boat material. So we just got rid of an old sailboat that was my grandfather's, trashed, right? But the boat itself, the fiberglass that was made, or the fiberglass that was used to make that boat, the boat was made in like the 60s, dude.
Everything is
it was
shit
a
now.
rock solid.
Everything
that boat
is
was
shit
rock
now.
solid.
All material, all the craftsmanship, it's all freaking robots and all that crap. It's all shit. We're past the days of somebody laying underneath your boat and patching it up, or freaking laying a real bead with a freaking TIG welder, other than freaking Matt Downs with trick tins. That guy does it the real way. And you don't see that shit anymore.
Right.
It's coming off the line. It is what it is. It's not inspected. The quality control is crap. It's not a mold, but the aluminum mold they put it in to follow and do the welds is crap. It's inconsistent. Every hull is different. It's garbage.
It blew my mind when you bought that boat, which is a pretty decent selling model, and you looked on the forums for the motor height, and they rig it in the wrong hole from the factory.
Comment of the night. It will be better next year when America is great again.
I hope so.
Vote for Donald Trump. That's what we do at Bassamere Radio. Don't care if you're mad about it.
True. But yeah, it's when you guys were in the group chat, when you guys were going back and forth about, you gotta change the motor mounts, or you gotta mount it in a different hole. I'm like, how is that not done from the factory? How is that not done? Or how is there not instructions to the rigging facility, which is a dealer, that says, this is how you rig this. This is where it's supposed to sit. How is that happening? I don't understand that.
And I think that was actually the number one problem with my first hull. I had a 2021 Ranger when I first got it. And when I got it, they had the motor and everything set too high. Everything on the boat was set higher than what it should have been. Jack plate and motor. And then when they replaced it, they sent me another boat back with everything set completely wrong again.
Right. It's you shouldn't have to fiddle around with stuff when you get a new boat. You shouldn't have to, you should not have to.
It makes me wonder if the 21 actually had any problems whatsoever, or if it was literally just me being ignorant to bass boats and Ranger having a bunch of retards work for them that has no idea how to set up their own boat.
That's possible. I mean, I don't know, dude. It's but again, how are we in an age? How are we in an age where you can spend almost $50,000 on a toy, and you then have to hook it to a cherry picker or a front end loader to dismount the motor so you can properly mount it in the motor mount, in the holes in the motor mounts? How are we at that point?
By the way, and if you fuck anything up, you void your warranty.
Yeah. How are we at that point though? I don't get that. I don't get that. I don't understand. I don't like it. I just think as consumers, right? It's ultimately our fault as consumers because we buy the shit, right? We buy it. And there is not that's the problem. We buy it. If you continue to spend the money for garbage, they're going to continue to make garbage. You know what I mean? It's
oh, I mean, but I feel like it's backwards on the American people too, because what other option do you have if they're only producing garbage?
Right. Andy said he needs to get back on and just talk the industry. Andy, we are all for it, brother.
Andy, I'll send you a link right now.
Right. we're all for it, man. I'd always love having you on and just having you comment, because you definitely know what you're talking about. And a lot of people, I know I say this a lot, but a lot of the stuff that Team Marine puts out, a lot of people take it as gospel.
Yeah.
Because you're in those boats way more than the rest of us.
Hey, there's JCS Marine. What's up, boys?
But yeah, man, it's, I don't understand how guys are spending this exorbitant amount of money for boats, which are toys. This is not something you rely on to live unless you're a pro, right? And you get garbage, you get crap. Like, I don't understand how that happens. Like,
JCS Marine.
I can tell you what, you're never going to get a boat purely rigged from JCS Marine. That's for sure. Like, and I'm not taking, and they're not building boats. They're refurbishing and restoring them. How do they know more about how that boat is supposed to run and where it's supposed to be set up than the guys that make the boat? And that's not a shot on JCS Marine. That's a shot on the guys building the boats.
It's a shot on White River Marine. It's a shot on Tracker, Ranger, Triton. It's a shot on all of that.
Right.
I don't know. That's one of the questions. It's one of the questions I have, and one of the answers I don't have, because I honestly dude, I went 11 months. I made 11 months worth of payments on a boat I did not have, only to be compensated with a $200 gift card to Bass Pro Shops. And
that's like 2 swim baits, maybe.
No, it's like 1.
Okay,
and then maybe $50 for some crankbaits afterwards.
Right.
But I don't know, man. It's crap. It's total crap. The inconsistency is crap. Everything about it is crap.
And I think that's why certain companies are always going to be around. Somebody here? Maybe it's Tom. Or maybe it's just the dogs barking.
Maybe.
But I think that's why you're going to have certain companies that are always going to be around. Oh yeah, you know what? We suck at sending stuff. We suck at sending stuff out. We owe Jim a shirt.
We owe Jim 2 shirts.
We do owe Jim 2 shirts. We have them today. We have them here, right?
They're in my truck.
All right, we're gonna send them out this week.
They're in my truck.
We're gonna send them out this week.
My ADHD and my extra chromosome just don't allow that to happen sometimes.
Scott has a good point. Scott says it buy base off history. And I think a lot of people do that because these names have been around forever. You don't hear of these issues from Allison, Bass Cat. I don't hear of a ton of issues from Phoenix. I don't. What is Tom talking about? What time is your DA? I have no idea.
What time is your DA? What is DA, Tom? Tom, are you in my driveway? Come inside.
Tom might be in your driveway.
You were supposed to be inside. Come on.
The
dogs won't hurt you.
But yeah, so that's I don't know, but Scott has a good point. Like, you don't hear these issues from Allison. I don't hear.
Oh, I know what that means.
So now we don't get to hear.
Yeah, it's a dick appointment.
Ah, nice. Fantastic. It's not me, by the way. But yeah, like, you don't hear these issues from Bullet. You don't hear these issues from. You really don't hear them from Phoenix, and Phoenix pumps out tons of boats. You don't hear of them from Bass Cat. You don't hear of them from Allison. I just think those companies. I don't like Icon for reasons I've said on here. You don't hear those issues from Icon. I think the boat's ridiculously expensive. Tom started something. You don't hear those issues from Icon. I would never buy one because I would have to sell everything I own to get one, but you don't hear of the issues. So, I think we all know for a long time, Ranger was the deal. Ranger was the best.
It was a shit until White River Marine.
I mean, Champion was great for a long time too. I think that's another company we could talk about if we're talking about, like, it seems like we're talking about industry and history and stuff tonight. But Champion always had a great boat. But
Tom, how'd you do after I left? I know you caught that 4. How'd you do after, other than the 4? Did you catch more than that? Let us know in the comments.
Champion was run out of business by poor. Basically, the people that weren't building the boats was what ran Champion out of business. The boats were still great. It was the business aspect of Champion sucked. Mm-hmm. I think Stratus was a good boat. It's a shame Stratuses aren't still running around. Legend was another good
I don't
boat.
see any Stratuses. Legend.
Legend was a great boat too. I think they were having some issues, but again, it wasn't boat quality as far as I know. Like the V20, V21 were pretty nice boats. So Tom said whacked them everywhere on everything.
See,
We were
it just
throwing
has everything. So when did the water start moving? Around 5, like we talked about. I knew that was going to happen.
It always does.
But I had shit I had to do. I had to mow the grass and shit when I got home.
But yeah, so it's just an interesting point that we're in right now, and I don't think it's great. What's
up, Zach?
That's why guys are going to companies like JCS Marine and saying, "Hey, I got this old boat. I want you to make it new. Just tell me how much it's going to cost because it's going to be cheaper than a new boat." Yeah, so and like there they are saying the same thing. JCS they commented, even the lower tier boats were built with pride in the past. Very few boats are built that way now, and I agree.
Yeah, fully agree.
It's
Unless
a shame.
it's one of those like mom and pop companies like Icon or
Bass Cat.
Bullet
still makes a good boat. Bullet still makes. They just don't make a lot, but they still make a good boat.
Whatever happened to Ballistic? Did that never?
They're still actually around, and what's interesting about that is the only thing I've ever heard.
What is that? Avid boats?
Avid's aluminum. They're still making boats, but they don't really talk to anybody. They don't. I've never seen like an exchange out there where they are communicating with somebody to talk about their boat.
Yeah, 110%, Tom. HVAC equipment's the same exact way.
Yeah,
everything's cheaper.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. We're in a weird spot for sure. And it sucks because a boat that was made probably 15 years ago doesn't hold the value of a new boat. It's probably made better. I mean, even my 25-year-old Ranger VX.
But that's what I'm talking about. So you're still in your 25-year-old Ranger. There's still people out here running 25-year-old air conditioning equipment. If you put an air conditioner in brand new now, you'll be lucky if you get 10, 15 years out of it.
Yeah, it's like diesel trucks.
It's literally half the amount of the life.
Right, and not to go down that rabbit hole because we will, but like it's like a diesel truck. Yeah. Like my 12 valve still runs. I'm going to run it tomorrow. Your truck still ran before the unfortunate event that happened to it, but it was still a great running truck. Like, you know what I mean? So
rest in peace.
I don't know, man. Like it's just as somebody,
it's even more insulting now.
Yeah, it is. But we don't have to talk about that because we'll get you fired up. But I'm an old school guy. Like I grew up, my grandfather worked on everything with his hands. I dig into stuff when I can and when I have the time, and it's easy to tell when something's made right and when it ain't. And like this newer stuff, dude, it's cheap. It's cheap. Like that's why, and I know you guys are gonna drag me. That's why I shop on Temu. It's arguably the same shit.
Bullshit,
dude. It's the same crap.
Bullshit.
The quality's the same, dude.
You are not getting like Hayabusa and freaking all the same quality hooks and shit on freaking Temu.
I don't know, man.
And now there's some Asian that's half your size with your name and credentials.
Probably. That's probably true.
There's an Asian man that's literally the size of your left arm.
He's probably about to buy a house with my social.
And then his wife is the size of your right leg. That's it.
Yeah. Hold on. Responding to one of the comments in my fishing group chat.
We're now banned for racism.
Yeah, right. But I don't know, man. It's like I could either spend top dollar for cheap crap or I could spend a minimum dollar for cheap crap. Either way, you're getting cheap crap. So why spend the money? Until someone makes something that's leaps and bounds ahead, you know what's worth spending money on? Milwaukee tools. That's it. I don't own any Milwaukee.
That's the best thing I've heard all night.
I don't own Milwaukee tools, but I know that they are like
the shit.
Leaps and bounds.
They
better.
are the tits.
Right. They are
absolute tits.
Right.
They are big, nice, soft tits with nice, small, dime-sized hard nipples. Okay. That is what Milwaukee
now we're
is.
banned for that. But the thing of it is, nobody who's not buying in Milwaukee is out there saying, "Oh, my Harbor Freight brand's just as good." They're saying, "I bought this because it's $150 cheaper." I get that, right? But like, it's the same concept. Like I don't know, man. I don't like where we're at. Anyway, we're gonna get on a tangent. What's
the same thing though? Because you kind of you like throwing some of the lesser rods and reels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you enjoy that.
Yeah, because I'm not spending a ridiculous amount of money for them. Like
you spend a lot of time fishing, so why wouldn't you spend the money on something that is Milwaukee?
Because the stuff that I have that I like, that's Milwaukee grade, in my opinion, Shimano rods. If you break it, you're out. It sucks.
Jim, I can't believe you just put that in the chat feed.
If I break my Ardent rod, I get a new Ardent rod.
Yeah.
If my Ardent reel strips out, I get a new Ardent reel. If my Shimano Corrado drop shot rod that I use probably more than any other rod I have in my my boat right now breaks, I don't get a new Shimano Corrado 7-foot medium light. I don't get that. I'm out the money I spent on it. So in my mind, I feel better, I feel safer, and I feel like I had a better use of my money in the event something happens. Like I bought a 610 medium light Demiki rig rod from Ardent, broke it, and I had another rod in 3 days. There was no send it back, pay the shipping. It was send us a picture.
Never send me a picture.
Well,
That's the one that gets me.
I sent them a picture of where it broke. I didn't send them the section of the rod. I didn't have to write them a paragraph about how it broke. They said, okay, send us the fill out the form, send it in. We'll have a new one mailed out to you. I broke that rod on a Thursday. I had a new rod by a Sunday. And that's just how they are. That's just how they are. I took apart a reel one time. I couldn't get it back together. It was embarrassing. I couldn't get it back together. It was one of the first reels I ever tried to take apart. I couldn't get the damn thing back together. I sent it to them and they sent me a new one. An upgraded model. I was like, guys, I sent in the crappier one. Yeah, we know, but that one was a little worn. So here, you can have this one. I was like, what?
That's nice.
I broke a rod one time, and this is why I like Ardent. And I know a lot of people drag Ardent. I broke a. They used to have.
I like that. He says no one wants a drill. That you just want a hole in something.
True. I broke a 7.6 heavy Denny Brower flipping rod. It was one that they still ran the Denny Brower series of rods. This was back in 2019.
With Luz?
Ardent. When he was still with Ardent.
Okay.
Yep. So I broke one of those rods, and they didn't have the replacement. So I sent it in. It broke on a hook set. I only had the rod for about maybe 2 to 3 months. Broke it on a hook set, and I called them and I said, hey, I don't know what happened. The rod broke. And they said, well, we don't have that rod in stock anymore, and we're probably not making them anymore. And I was like, damn, dude, that sucks. And then right as I was about to say, well, do I have to, in my head, I'm like, well, I guess I got to buy another rod. I read the remainder of the email, which said, hey, we don't have that model in stock. We do have the upgraded model in stock. It's $50 more retail. Just don't worry about it because we don't offer this one anymore. Pick one of these. Pick the length and model you want of the Edge, which is their top of the line, and we'll send it to you. No questions. No questions asked. That experience right there kept me with Ardent rods and reels. I know there's better stuff out there. Quality-wise, I don't think there's a better value out there. And that's my spiel on Ardent. I don't think there's a better value.
That is really nice. Makes me want to try. I know Tom likes Ardent too.
I've broke some Ducket rods. Their customer service is good. I broke my Micro Magic last year.
Are you friends with Boyd?
No, I'm not. I just like the rods. I like the rods. I broke the Ducket rod. I had to cut it, the section, send it in. It cost me $50. It was good customer service. It's not the best I've ever had. If that was an Ardent rod, they would have said, send me the picture of where it broke, and they would have sent me the same rod brand new. No questions asked, ever. By the way, if you ever break a rod, and if you're able to keep certain sections of it, do yourself a favor, take the guides off and put them in a little bag or something, because you never know when you're going to need guides, and you always have them laying around. So So Tom said he got 2 new reels from Arden after 2 years of use, 3-year warranty, sent them in, $15 shipping. So yeah, that's you pay.
That's insane.
You do have to pay the shipping for. I mean, what could you do
but
anyway?
just you used a rod, you used a reel for 2 years and then sent it back, and they sent you a brand new one.
3-year warranty.
That is but that's wild.
Yeah.
Anybody that anybody that fishes as hard as you or Tom over is going to go through a reel. I don't care if it's Shimano or Daiwa.
And that's what it comes down to is like, again, I know that I can abuse my stuff, and if it breaks, I send it in and I get new stuff, because that's what that company stands for and that's what they do. That's why I continue to buy from them. Like, again, I know the Shimano Corrado is the best rod I've ever fished with. Not that I fish with a lot of super amazing rods, but that's the best rod I've ever fished with. And if I break it, I'm replacing it with an Ardent of the same length and power, because if it breaks, I'm getting that rod again.
Tom says the Apex Graham, the worm drive stripped. He said the other one was this frogging reel, and it was just really loud.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And they just sent him new stuff.
That's great. I can get behind that.
Yeah. And it's no hassle. It's no questions. It's just, hey, this is broken. This is when I bought it. What do I do next? They send you the form, tell us what it's doing, and they send you new stuff. So it's awesome that they do that. Really, really cool company. I got a chance to meet with them when I went to ICAST in 2018. All really down to earth guys, smaller company. So kind of the mom and pop type of feeling, but I recommend them to anybody. If you're in the market for newer stuff or you want to try a different brand, I would definitely try Ardent. The Edge rods are really nice. The Tournament Pro rods are really price friendly. Not the greatest rods, but they're very, for what they are, they're perfectly capable. The reels, I think, are the really selling point. The reels are really nice. The rods, there's definitely better options for rods. I don't think there's a better warranty, but there's better options for quality if you're willing to spend $300-$400.
Do you still have that one reel that's like a jig reel that like screams like a mother when you throw it? It's like
probably. Is that the one? And then, or is that the one with the that has the really small spool too? Yeah, I still have that thing.
You should send that back and get another one.
I took it apart, greased it, now it's perfect.
Yeah.
So,
dude, that's the loudest reel I've ever heard in my life.
That's the other thing I like about having.
But it casted a country mile. I didn't understand it.
That's what I like about having those rods, those reels too. Is if you're into taking apart your stuff and fixing it up, you take apart one, they're all the same. I don't ever have to screw around with remembering how shit goes together. Every Ardent rod and reel you take apart's the same. So if you're good with them, it's super easy. Like I've pulled almost every reel I have. I've probably pulled it apart 2-3 times to clean it, grease it, or whatever. It's just super easy. I mean, I can have a reel cleaned down, taken down, greased, cleaned up, put back together in probably 15 minutes with no power tools. No little electric drills, just there you go. Yeah, Tom, that's a sore subject. Not really. It's funny. So Tom just commented, Miles is going to get oil. And I don't want to put my buddy on blast because I love Miles to death. Miles is a good friend of mine. I fish with him any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But in the championship, the Conowingo championship, Miles forgot to put oil in his boat. Which means
oh my God,
your boat's not going anywhere. So we're up at the Holtwood Bridge and the alarm starts going off. And he looks at me like, what's wrong with the boat? And I'm like, I don't know. Did you put oil in it? He's like, yeah. I'm like this morning? He's like, no, like a month ago. And I'm like, what did you just say?
A month ago?
I'm like, what'd you just say? He's like, yeah, I put oil in like a month ago. I said, stop the boat, Miles. So he sat down. I opened the oil reservoir. There's no oil in it. None. I'm like, dude.
God.
Oh my God. So that sucked.
I was talking.
It happens, dude.
I mean, you put it out there. How mad were you?
I wasn't that mad because I've done it before. I can't be mad at Miles for something I've done. I've done it before. That's how you learn. You do dumb shit, you don't do it a second time. If you do dumb shit a second time, you're an idiot. If you do it one time, you learned a lesson.
Hey, I know he's got oil in his boat now.
Right. It happens, dude. I've done it. Like, you've done it.
I've done it a couple times.
Right. So it's like, it's not like people don't do this.
I wasn't fishing a championship tournament though.
No, I always carry 2 gallons of wool in my boat, spare at any given time.
I just did it going out to like fun fishing.
Yeah.
So
My uncle rescued you.
he did.
That was hilarious.
He did.
That was funny.
It's like, God, dude, it's like still to this day. For one, your uncle is just a fucking legend. He will always be a legend. And for 2, he saved me with that oil.
Yep.
The day that I figured out that your uncle was the guy that pulls his fiberglass boat to the ramp with a
Ford Focus.
with a Ford Focus.
Dude, that dog just ripped.
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, that was good stuff. He does do that. He still does it. Before that, it was an Escort hatchback, and every panel in the car was a different color. Like the hood was green, the side panels were
Old Charlie.
the fenders were gray, one fender was red, tires were bald.
Can we get Charlie on the show?
Maybe one day. I hope he
Get
comes.
Charlie on the show. What's up, Brian?
Dude, he's got to tell the story about when he was. All right, so this is a true story. All right,
What's good about? It's about to get good.
so this is a true.
Hit that like and share button, everybody, because this is about to get juicy. Come on.
This is a true story. So, he didn't know this at the time. He found out later. He was fish. So we have the house in Saltpeter, right? 1991. There was a pretty important fishing tournament that went on in this area, Bassmaster Classic. So he didn't know the Bassmaster Classic was happening. So he went out fishing.
Oh, I've heard this.
He went out fishing in Dundee, and there's like a couple guys in the tournament like fishing the grass in Dundee. This is like literally 1991. So he catches a 5-pounder, and he's holding it up. He's like, "Hey, are you guys looking for this?" And then put it in his live on, took it home and ate it. I'm like, dude, I want to slap you right now. This happened 30 years ago, and I want to slap you. So, and then he's like, yeah, and I found out later that it was the Bassmaster Classic. It's like, those guys were probably mad. I was like, I'm mad at you right now. Like, what are you doing?
Could not imagine.
Yeah, that's how he is.
Somebody hold like a 5 or a 6-pounder up in my face and be like, you were looking for this.
But he wasn't being
thing.
arrogant either. It's just how he is.
Yeah, he just doesn't know.
He's just how he is. That's a true story.
So funny.
It's a true story.
Geeks me out.
Yeah, we were a couple weeks ago. I went up there on a Friday. I had off work, and he followed me up in his boat because he wanted to get a path up in the rocks. So he was like, I see him out there, and he's like slapping his depth finder, like slapping it like old school, like it's gonna fix something. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And he's like, oh, my depth finder's wrong. I'm like, what's wrong with it? He's like, it says it's 100 feet right here. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, now go 20 feet up. He's like, no, it says it's 3 feet. I'm like, yeah, it is. He's like, there's no way. I'm like, I'm telling you. So then he drifts back into the 100-foot and starts throwing like a spinnerbait, just cranking it in. I'm like, so you think these fish are going to come up from 90 feet to eat your spinnerbait? Like, what are you doing? Just go to the side where there's rocks and fish. You're in 100 foot of water. Stop it. Like, what do you can't. It's like Bill Dance, dude. It's like fishing with Bill Dance. It's incredible.
I don't know. Bill Dance is pretty talented.
It's not from the talent aspect. It's from the circus aspect, because it's a circus. It really is a circus. I remember there's just been. I remember one time we were pulling the boat out of the ramp at my shore house, which is not. It's a dirt ramp, dirt and sand, and he was trying to pull his boat out with the Hyundai Accent front wheel drive, bald tires in the front, and he couldn't pull the boat out of the water because he had no traction. So he literally the tires are just spinning on the ramp, and he's shifting gears. He winds out first gear, right? Shifts into second, is burning rubber the whole time. The boat's nothing's moving. And he's just like rolling. He got to the third gear, dude. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I swear to God. And the whole time, he's just like, man, the boat, I can't go anywhere. I'm like, you were in third gear, not moving, and the tires are just smoking. I've never seen tires smoked on grass, but it happened that day. It was incredible. Me and my buddy Sean, we were like shot in the ass. We were no good. We're just laughing. It was like, what do we even do? So I told him to stop. He puts the car back in first gear, and me and Sean take our boots off and are in the water pushing the back of the boat trailer, and it finally went up. It was hilarious. Dude, it was crazy. I remember one time we were driving back, we were fishing at night, and we're coming up Allender Road, you know where all the speed bumps are?
Yep.
Before they put all the houses in, so there was that big tall grass field on the left if you're going towards the 7-Eleven, towards Philadelphia Road. So we're driving, and it was I'm sitting in the back. It was one of the last times we ever took my grandfather fishing because he was really old. My uncle's driving, my grandfather's in the passenger seat, and I'm in the back, and I'm barely awake because it's like 2 a.m. We would go out fish for stripers like at night. Go out at like 8 o'clock and come in a little before midnight and then just go home. The night bite was always really good out there. So we're driving home, and he's driving the Ford Escort towing his boat, and the window's open, and he's like, leaning like this, and out of nowhere, a deer like jumps in on top of the car, and his head's like almost at the window line, and the deer probably lands right here on the roll bar. And the deer flies over. The hoof actually kicked him in the arm. The deer flies over the car, lands in the boat. Luckily, we're only going like 20 because of speed bumps, right? The deer lands in the boat, shits in the boat.
You're in there?
I'm in the car. I'm in the back of the car. And I'm watching this. The deer flies over the car, lands in the boat, shits all over the boat. There's hair everywhere. The deer got up and ran away. It was probably perfectly fine because we weren't going fast. And it literally it tried to jump over the car, and it just took the bottom out from it, and it just rolled over the car and into the damn boat. It was hilarious. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life because we pulled into that 7-Eleven. I get out of the car, and he's freaking out. He's like, he's freaking out, right?
Charlie.
Freaking out. My grandfather's laughing and cussing at him for some reason because that's helpful. And I'm in the 7-Eleven parking lot.
His dad?
Yeah. I'm pissing myself. Just absolutely pissing myself. Because the roof of the car has got smeared shit all over it. The boat carpet's full of deer hair and shit. Oh, dude, it was great. It was the funniest thing ever.
Oh, my God.
It was the funniest thing ever. Oh, it was great, man. It was so funny. Core memory. Me and my buddy Sean in high school, before any of us had boats, we would go and we would fish with him. And it was always an event. It was one time we actually almost sank out. We would striper fish at Robin Point at night. The incoming tide makes a real strong ripple there. We catch a lot of big stripers. So we're sitting out there, and we had to anchor out, and the wind started blowing. And at that point, you're pretty much main bay. So when the wind starts blowing, it can get nautical quick. So it was almost at the end of the day anyway, and the wind starts blowing, and he's like, "Hey, we got to get out of here." So I said, "Now, to start his boat is an art, not a science." I'm gonna say that again. To start his boat is an art, not a science. You have to choke it the right way. You have to have the warm lift up the right way. It's a 1983 Mercury Classic 50, right? It's old. It's probably got more hours than most of our boats put together. It still runs to this day. It still runs. You've seen it at the ramp. It's the little blue Skeeter with the Mercury Classic 50. So I'm pulling the anchor in, and I told him, I was like, "Look, I'm gonna start pulling this anchor. Have this boat running, please." Because this wind's going to blow us right into the shore, and we're going to get beached, and the waves are going to break over the boat. Okay. I said, "Look, as soon as I start pulling the anchor, get it started." Pull the anchor in, and I turn around, and there he is sitting there staring at me. And I'm like, "Is the boat running?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." Goes to start it, won't start. So, sure enough, we are now blown onto the side of the point in between Pools Island and we're sitting on Robin Point, getting beat by waves crashing over the boat. The boat will not start. There are waters over your feet in the boat, and he's full freak out mode. And me and Sean are just looking at each other like, we're gonna stay the night here. We're just gonna go sleep in the reeds and get bit by mosquitoes all night because there's no way. We finally get the boat started, and as we're going home, the wind's blowing from our left. So blowing from, I can't remember which way it was blowing. It was blowing from the left. I can't remember. But either way, every time we hit a wave, Oh, Jesus Christ. Every time we hit a wave.
Expect nothing less.
Every time we hit a wave, he's getting a face full of water. And he's a germaphobe, so he's freaking out. He's like, "Dad, there's water in my mouth," and he's like freaking out. And like me and my buddy Sean were just shitting our pants laughing. Like after we were beached legitimately and had to get out and push again, it was an event, dude. It was a total event. That's what it's like fishing with him. Like you do not expect to catch fish when you go with him. You expect to watch a show, and that's what you're gonna get every time. So that's how that works. It's a good time. It's just don't expect to do any fishing.
Yep. Well, do you have anything more you want to add to tonight's podcast?
Not particularly. I know it seems like it's going quick. We've already been on for an hour and a half. I know just a couple things. I want to say congratulations again to Paul for winning the championship down in the Pocomoke, the Maryland State Federation Championship. That's really cool. I'm glad that Paul got to win that. Put in a lot of time. He definitely deserves it. And then it's just happy to be back to normal. I feel like my schedule's finally back to normal because it has not been normal since like August, which is just getting back into the swing of the normalcy was appreciated. I like being in the United States of America and not traveling the world. Traveling the world's fun and all, but it ain't nothing like the U.S. of A. Let me tell you what. Just believe that. If you've never traveled abroad, travel abroad and go to. I'm not talking go to Paris. I'm talking go to some other places and tell me what you think. We're very lucky and fortunate to do things that we get to do here.
We're blessed to be in America.
Like there is no. You don't get to just go to the lake and go fishing in other parts of the world. So it's cool. Nothing's perfect, of course, but it could be a lot worse, I promise. But anyway, that's my spiel for the evening. Ready to got my last tournament tomorrow. I hope to go up there and whack them, but I feel like it's going to be a little grindy. We'll see what happens. So
let's go, buddy. I appreciate you, and appreciate everybody that watches Bass and Beer Radio. I hope to be back with everybody. Are you next week? What do you got going on?
I'll be here next week. I have drill next weekend, so Friday night will probably be a little early for me, but yep. I should be here. Yeah.
Yep. So next week, hopefully we'll get Paul Batters and maybe even Riverboat Rob back up in here, and Mr. Dubbers. This is Mr. Glub Glubs. He's a good boy. And we'll hang out for the podcast. All right, everybody. We will see you guys next week, and in the middle